yourself a cold one.
They strike 'em, huh?
And listen to Ross Tucker break down the top college prospects on another tasty edition of The College Draft.
Yeah, it's Daddy Soda time here on the College Draft Podcast. We are presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. I can't believe it, but a week from now, we will be previewing and placing our bets on regular season college football games that count. I think Iowa State and K-State are over in Ireland. Certainly Stanford and Hawaii are on CBS. So there's a lot of good stuff next weekend, of course, or next weekend. And also, Emory and I will give you our thoughts on the preseason. We're going to do that today as well, because there's a lot to take away from preseason NFL football and, quite frankly, how that relates to today's episode. For those of you that are loyal listeners, I got an email recently from someone that they said they listened or they watched the College Draft every week. That is awesome. Can't remember what they wanted. They wanted something, but at least they started by buttering me up that they watch the College Draft Podcast every week. YouTube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. We've gone through all four of the P4 conferences, the group of five. Today is Emory's day. You know, at the start of day 3 on the NFL draft, they always say, this is the scout's day or this is this guy's day. Well, today is Emory's day. I promise you, okay, I promise with all my heart and soul, there's not a soul that knows more about the FCS, D2, D3, NAI, football in general, and then prospects in particular, than my guy, Emory Hunt, who you should check out on social media at F-Ball Game Plan. Football Game Plan on YouTube, very popular. And of course, the draft guide. All these guys making plays in the preseason. Emory has write-ups on them. Footballgameplan.com/2025 draft guide. I am merely Ross Tucker. Got one of the books. Eagles-Bengals last Thursday. I'll get Eagles-Browns live on NFL Network, by the way, Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. You can check me out at Ross Tucker NFL. Always check us out at Ross Tucker Pod. And Emory, I was almost giddy, okay, over the weekend watching these preseason games, knowing we were going to talk about the quote-unquote lower levels of football and the top prospects there today, because I feel like every game I watched, there were lower-level guys making plays. How about your guy Darius Cooper from Tarleton State just lighting up the Bengals? I mean, that was impressive. And I think, you know, my big takeaway, Emory, and I know you have a lot to say, but I still think teams are undervaluing these guys. And I get that you want the Power 4 guys or whatever and the pedigree, and they go against better competition. My argument would be, if a guy is so good at the FCS level that you sign him or want to draft him, he's good. I mean, he really stands out to even get a shot, Emory.
Thank you, Ross. Like, it's almost as if a guy that's doing the job, showing you he can do the job, is saying, I can do the job. And that's all you want to see from the guys at the lower levels. Stand out, be a standout, because that used to be the trek to success. Hey, this guy was a 3-time FCS All-American or D2 All-American or whatever. Let's see what this guy could do if we give him a shot at the upper level, at the preseason level. I think a big brain idea I have, Ross, is we need to go back to 6 preseason games and allow the first 4 preseason games to be the little mini season, preseason, for all of the back-end roster guys. Let those guys get 4 straight games of game planning, improving, and let that be your preseason. And therefore, you can use the last 2 games for you guys, your starters, to get, in tune or whatever. But you want to see these small school guys have the success they have. And it shows you, given a situation where you have a chance to show and improve. I know the cool and popular thing around the country and default setting for a lot of people in this country is to hate and be negative. But so I don't understand why people hate and always say, "Oh, it's just preseason, bro." If you only get one shot to do your thing, you're gonna do it. That's why I put that tweet out there that this weekend. Like, man, listen, my first game as a broadcaster was a women's tackle football game, a playoff game between DC and Boston. Was it Buffalo and Kansas City? Nope. Best believe I'm gonna treat it like it was. Why? Because who knows who's watching? Who knows if this is my first and last opportunity to call a game, grand opening, grand closing? I better attack this with I'm calling a game with John Madden and Pat Summerall. So you got to take advantage. And preseason, yes, there's context, but it definitely matters, especially for those guys out there coming from the lower levels.
Well, that's why I get so frustrated when people say preseason games are meaningless. It's like, yeah, it's meaningless except for that guy and his whole family. It's the most important night of his life.
Yes.
Meaningless for you, maybe. For that guy and his family, like Darius Cooper, that's the difference. He is now going to get paid to play football, right? I don't know if he's practice squad or active roster or whatever, but after what he did the other night, he'll at least be practice squad for somebody, even if the Eagles don't keep him. I mean, you can't play that well. That guy earned multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars with how he played the other night. I'll give you another one, Emory, and then we got to get into these guys. Maybe we can circle back. Remember the guy I told you about? My guy, Max Hurleman from my high school, Wyomissing. I helped him get a half scholarship to Colgate out of high school. He ends up earning a full, starts at running back, starts at receiver, special teams player of the year in the conference, transfers to Notre Dame as a walk-on. Notre Dame puts him at corner. By the way, maybe not the best idea, Notre Dame. You see him in the game the other night? They put him at corner, and he's their punt returner. He gets a chance in the NFL as a tryout player. I was part of that, and I was glad I was able to help him out a little bit. Dude, he's catching passes down the seam from Skylar Thompson against the Jags. Then he scores a touchdown, does a backflip. I don't know how guys do that, by the way, especially with helmet and shoulder pads on.
Bro.
You know how explosive you have to be to a standing backflip with a helmet and shoulder pads on, like 10 pounds of extra weight? Anyway, then I see him on gunner, the last punt of the game, and he splits a double team and makes the tackle. I'd be shocked if he's not practice squad for the Steelers. Shocked at this point. So these are guys that are earning, I have it written down, I think it's $13,000 a week this year is practice squad for those guys. And nobody else had heard of Max Hurleman, right? Like, I love. I think it's the greatest reality show out there. What other sport is like that? You don't see that in the NBA. You don't see that in other sports where guys kind of come out of nowhere and do these things. So let's find out, Emory, who we should at least be tracking. Because a few years ago, this was Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. That's who you told us about a few years ago when we were talking FCS D2, D3. Let's start. You got three quarterbacks. Derek Robertson from Monmouth. You'd call some of their games. Jaden Craig from Harvard. Boo. We don't need that. We need quarterback prospects from Princeton, not Harvard. And then Jacobian Morgan. I didn't realize Jackson State has another guy. Tell me about these guys.
Yeah, it's funny. Princeton used to have a lock on the quarterback position. They had a factory going on. I used to love seeing all the quarterbacks they had to get trickle up. And so when you look at, I'll start with Jaden Craig. When you talk about Craig, it was funny. He was the passer, and Charles DePrima was the athletic quarterback that ran when they used to use a two quarterback system. But Craig has some tremendous accuracy, velocity. He's throwing with touch. He's decisive when he makes his decisions. Good touchdown to interception ratio, and a big reason why Harvard is the favorite, I believe, this year to win the Ivy and have a chance to go to the postseason. Ross, this is gonna be fun to follow the Ivy League this year, even more so. And when you think about Derek Robertson, you're right. I call a lot of Monmouth games. His brother is the OC and our quarterback coach. I'm sorry. And it's fascinating because he is almost like he's an extension of the coaching staff when he's out there, because every time you see him throw a football, you're like, damn, that's a great decision. Or he's throwing with super anticipation. The ball just gets to where it needs to be every time, regardless of the opponent. You go and watch their game against FIU last year when they upset the Golden Panthers, and then you watch them subsequently in the CAA. He's consistently making good decisions with the football. I think he's a tremendous talent, maybe even a draftable talent coming out of the FCS. And Jacobian Morgan, big physical quarterback. I watched their game against ULM last year, and I was like, this guy has some juice. And not only just juice to, compete in the FCS, but make Jackson State once again relevant, make Jackson State once again a favorite to win the Black College National Championship, and also be one of these guys that you can see end up on a pro roster because he's about 6'3", 6'4", 230, good size, and also the strength, the arm talent, and everything that you want to see.
Speaking of FCS and quarterbacks and what you want to see, how about you got a couple receivers, including Bryce Lance, the receiver from North Dakota State, Trey Lance's brother, younger brother. I think we talked about him last year. I'm like in shock right now. So Trey Lance, who like after his redshirt freshman year, everybody thought was a first round pick, his younger brother still went to North Dakota State. Like nobody said maybe we should take him at a higher level.
And the fact that he could have came out last year and decided to go back, not just go back to college and then transfer up to, take a gobs of money at some Power 4 school, went back to North Dakota State. And when you watch their games and you like, anytime they needed a big play deep downfield, they go to him. And he's constantly answering the call. Like there's a slew of prospects at North Dakota State this year, but Lance is the top one. Probably is going to be a Shrine Bowl guy. Probably is going to end up in a bigger, situation that other FCS receivers end up in. So I like the fact that he went back, good speed, good size, good ability to go make plays on the ball. And Reggie Retzlaff, I actually reached out to him last year because out of CSU-Pueblo, a Division II program. Dude, Ross, 6'3", 6'2", 215, dominant. And he was a senior. And I'm like, okay, let me hit him up, see, just in case, because it's the weird eligibility. Like, hey man, are you coming back to school? Or are you entering the draft? He's like, no, I'll be back for another year. I have another year. And boy, like this dude got juice, man. And so he's a catch and run guy. He can play on the outside, can play on the inside. Big physical receiver, but also has some speed. Was a All-American last year for the Wolves. This is someone that a lot of people need to start talking more about. And I'll give you another bonus wide receiver. I called one of his first games when they played Georgetown about 3 or 4 years ago, and this Kaedyn Odermann. He was at Harvard. Big physical receiver, could win above the rim. Obviously you have that extra year once you leave the Ivy League. So he transferred out, and he's now at Central Missouri. So the Mules do a great job of just spreading the wealth, getting everybody involved. Keep an eye on him, man. Big physical receiver that could play.
Don't go anywhere. Got to pay some bills real quick. Love, love, love when the Eagles have Thursday night preseason games because that meant I get a full beach weekend in and I get my beloved Labatt Blue Light, Labatt Blue Light Lime, and I'm one step closer to getting incredible merch with Buy Beer, Get Gear, rewards.labattusa.com. You're talking to someone that got the fridge and goes around to BYO restaurants at the Jersey Shore wearing my Labatt Blue Light cooler backpack. That's how cool it is. Be cool like me. Get the cooler backpack. Rewards.labattusa.com. Hold on a second. He transferred from Harvard to Central Missouri?
He graduated, so it was like, I got an extra year.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go play some football.
Well, first of all, I'm glad he graduated. Secondly, those are culturally different places.
Very much so.
Those
Very
are different places. I got to be honest with you, too. Listen, money is not everything, okay? And you can't buy happiness and all those things that I believe. Listen, I know for a fact I could make more money if I was in private equity or working for a hedge fund or whatever, but I wouldn't be happier. I'm happy as you can be because I love talking about football and going to football games. I will just say this, though. I am legitimately surprised whether it's like a Bryce Lance or Reggie Retzlaff, like a D2 All-American. I am surprised that those guys don't transfer to someone that's going to give them money based on what I've heard. I mean, I've heard Emory average Ivy League offensive lineman, average, getting a couple $100,000 to go to like an ACC school, and I'm blown away. And I've heard other people getting offered way more than that. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe these guys
It's
don't have
tough,
agents.
right? It's
Maybe
tough.
they haven't really explored it. Maybe they're just that happy at the school that they're at. And like I said, money's not everything. Everybody has their own value system in life, but it does surprise me. Like I'm almost surprised that there is even a list at the lower levels anymore. Because I would think anyone that's good enough to be on your list would have transferred somewhere where they're going to pay them.
Yeah, listen, I totally agree because it's tough, man, especially coming from the lower levels where, that's significant money, startup money, because at the end of the day, you may not get to the NFL. Man, what a hell of a nice nest egg or foundation to go and start your professional life just by transferring from one school to the next.
Just to not have to live paycheck to paycheck when you get your first real job. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like to have some savings. All right. What about the running backs? One of your specialties. You got Jaylin Cottrell from Central Oklahoma and Jaden Sullins. By the way, why are there so many Jaylin and Jadens?
Thank
I think the
Jalen
Texans
Rose.
have 6 Jaylins now.
Thank Jalen Rose. He was the first name we saw with the first name Jaylen, and the Fab Five, I'm sorry. And then after that, everybody else was named Jaylen. Like, it's crazy, so many Jaylens and Jadens. And so I think Jalen Rose was the genesis of that. But for Cottrell, Ross, this is funny. So that's Central Oklahoma. Quietly should be an FCS program. They have the facilities, they have the talent, they have the. Quite honestly, everybody in that conference, the MIAA, Northwest Missouri State, all those guys are FCS programs. Pitt State, they should be FCS, right? But they thrive in D2. So I'm on their roster, and Cottrell they list him as 6'2", 185. I'm like, all right, so that probably means he's like 5'9", 175. So I go to his tape. No, he's 6'2". You know what I'm saying? He's about 185. He looks like the tallest guy in the huddle. But what's fascinating about him, think Jalen Hurd. Like, he's a legitimate receiver, but he's a tall back that runs really well, that gets out in the open field for a taller guy and is able to open up his stride. So some people may see him as a pro receiver. Some people may see him as a tailback. I think you can kind of get the best of both worlds. That's why I use the Jalen Hurd comparison. Don't move him to one. Have him play both. Like, they're essentially the same position anyway nowadays. So that's his game, and he's very good. And Jaden Sullins, Carson-Newman, I was always a big fan of the late Ken Sparks, who was a longtime coach that recently passed away a couple years ago. They run that flex bone option. Sullins plays the B back in the flex bone and has the swiftness, the subtleness in his footwork at the second level. And because he plays in an option, he's not surprised by contact. So he's bouncing off a lot of defenders and has the good acceleration to hit the home run, which he does often coming out that offense.
Love it. All right. You got one linebacker, Erick Hunter from Morgan State.
Call a lot of Morgan State games. Hunter, and I tweeted out this past weekend about Elijah Williams, who we talked about ad nauseum on this show. He's thriving with the Minnesota Vikings as an undrafted rookie free agent up front. Like, he had a big game last weekend in preseason week 1. Hunter is going to be a stud. Like, sideline to sideline speed and, blowing ish up, that's Hunter. And so Morgan State is Baltimore's team in terms of college football. And they are built great on both sides of the ball. They just do a fantastic job of making things happen. Hunter is going to be a FCS All-American, probably going to be in the running for the Buck Buchanan Award as well. And so that's a situation where he's going to get a lot of opportunity because scouts have been there the last 2 years checking out Hunter and the other defensive players, but Hunter is someone that you should keep an eye on.
Let's get to Youngstown State. Youngstown State used to be like the power of FCS football. What do you have there?
If I'm the MAC, pick up the phone and call Youngstown State and add them to the conference, man. Everybody's right there in Ohio. It's just a seamless transition. And I've been to Stem Ball Stadium. Very good stadium. Very good. Like, they're FBS Group of 5 in disguise, right? But you'll love this. Hickey was at Yale. and transfers to Youngstown State
After he graduated?
after he graduated.
Okay.
But he probably got a master because he was at Yale at 2018. So he's been in last year he sat out with a red shirt because he was hurt. Then he transfers to Youngstown State. Good ball skills, good athleticism, but again, now you're dealing with an older prospect because he was class of 2018. So he's going to have to be a plug and play guy, kind of like Dallas Flowers, who was an older prospect at Pitt State that was with the Colts and special teamer. But I love the fact that Hickey has good ball skills, good awareness, can play on the boundary side as well.
Let's talk about old Slippery Rock, the PSAC, Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference. Again, it cracks me up when I talk to parents. Oh, yeah, he'll probably go D2, D3. Have you seen D2 football? Have you seen what the guys in the PSAC look like? They're really, really good players. Joe Cooper, the offensive tackle at Slippery Rock.
Just like how you could sell me on any Morgan State defensive player, you could sell me on any point of attack player from Slippery Rock. And Cooper, 6'6", 320, started at left and right tackle. 1 year he was started at left tackle, another year he started at right tackle. So he's able to play both sides. Good athlete at in terms of like climbing to the second level and the core strength to throw dudes around. His tape looks like how you expect a dominant Division II lineman to look. And to your point, if you say, oh yeah, he's going to go D2, D3, well, this dude is 6'6", 320. Like that's D2. And that's a guy that's on a lot of NFL radars. And Slippery Rock, Morgan State, programs that have an identity, and you know what you're going to get out of those guys, especially on those specific positions.
And then lastly, Emory, Kaleb Proctor, the D lineman from Southeast Louisiana.
And the cool part about them, they have a factory as well. People sleep on how good the football is in the state of Louisiana. 9 Division I programs, FBS and FCS, and they're always pretty competent, right? That tells you the high school talent. And Proctor is 6'2", 280, 3 technique, but so strong at the point of attack, Ross, you'll see him like stack and disengage right away and go get the football. And every year he has gotten better. His sack production has gotten better every year. His TFLs have gotten better every year. And they had a guy, Warren Peoples, that was in NFL camps right now in the preseason as an edge rusher. So doubling back to this well, they have another defensive lineman that we'll be talking about next year around this time.
So we shall see how many of these guys will be making plays like Darius Cooper from Tarleton State or Shunderick Powell from Central Arkansas or Max Hurleman from Colgate, all FCS guys that made a bunch of plays. All of them made multiple plays over the weekend. What else? I know you're all over it for CBS Sports Network and CBS HQ, Emory. What else, if anything, jumped out to you from a prospect standpoint from the preseason games? I know one thing that really jumped out to me, I thought Shedeur Sanders looked really good. I mean, first of all, he looked faster than he did in college on that one run. Maybe it's the white uniform. And then, the touch on the touchdown throw, the touch on when he was rolling to his right. I still have no idea what any of these people that we're talking about saying he was set up to fail. You're a 5th-round pick. You get a chance to start a preseason game. Like, there is no perfect opportunity. Make the most of it, and he did.
Yeah, and here's the thing, too, about Shedeur. It's crazy because any offensive line, whether it's 3rd or 4th team, would have been better than what he had at Colorado. Any times they ran the football over 6 times was better than any running game they had at Colorado. So this was a good situation for him just off default. So I'm not surprised that he had success. But Willie Lampkin, remember he was my number 1 center, Ross? And all he did out there in an NFL game was dominate. You know what I'm saying? And so size is not a skill. At some point, y'all going to realize that and listen to what we talk about on the show because that's all we are trying to tell you.
I love that dude so much. And if he really weighs, I want to know what he really weighs
right
now. I've seen 270, I've seen 290. It's a big difference. It's a big difference.
I would think he's probably like 280, right?
Okay.
Right in the middle.
That guy, I mean, you want to talk about explosiveness. When he gets into people And it's funny, Emory, because it's like, you know, as an O-lineman, you hate going against those like 5'11 guys because you just can't ever get leverage on them and they're like awkward to block. The D-linemen really aren't used to going against a 5'11 O-lineman.
This
You know, they don't know what to do with the offensive lineman that's naturally lower than them.
It's always funny, Ross, because people say, hey, man, it's football. Low man wins. There's a low man. He's going to win.
Yeah, and listen, what are the negatives of being short? Arm length, okay. Well, we've documented on this show, I had terrible arm length. A.Q. Shipley, horrific arm length. And then it's just harder to have good weight, right? Like,
Right.
if you're 5'11", 350, it's probably not going to look real good. 6'8", 350, you could look like Jordan Mailata. You could look like a model. You know what I mean? Like, that's the other thing about weight. I can't wait. I cannot believe we have real games to talk about next week. Check him out at F-Ball Game Plan. I'm at Ross Tucker NFL. We are at Ross Tucker Pod. The keg is kicked. We are all tapped out.
Thanks for tuning in to College Draft. Make sure to also check out the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, Even Money, and Fantasy Feast, all on the DraftKings Network, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.